Okay, here we go. All right, so welcome to Meditation and Spiritual Practice. I feel like I want to say, I'm your host, Rabbi Kavod. Uh, and this morning we're in summertime, and summertime is usually in our Torah cycle, either in the book of Numbers and the book of Deuteronomy. And the book of Numbers, as we know, is this wilderness journey that the Israelites are taking from the experience of Mount Sinai to the Promised Land, and all of the struggles and obstacles and things that go through this wilderness journey, just like life. And what is really very special is how the early Hasidic spiritual masters read every piece of the Torah as being about our own inner spiritual development. So one of the really core ideas that is in early Hasidic thought, and we've talked about it here before, is the idea of Yerida Sorech Aliyah. Yerida Sorech Aliyah, which means the descent for the sake of the ascent. The descent for the sake of the ascent, meaning that in order to get higher in spiritual awareness and consciousness, to ascend, one has to descend. One has to go deeper into contracted consciousness, even into suffering or pain, in order to uplift that and bring that forward. And what that is really, a way, it's a very deep thing to understand. Two ways of understanding that can mean that a lot of the time, the darkness that we don't want to see in ourselves is usually unconscious. And it being unconscious means that as long as we don't see or look at or deal with difficult feelings or experiences in ourselves, we are a whole inner amount of energy and awareness is not available to us. It's not available. We've just kind of cut it off because we don't want to see or affirm or experience our fullness, because it might be scary, it might be painful, all of those things. And so by choosing to descend, by going inside and being with what is difficult, and being able to try to remember that God is there too, or in the language of Kabbalah or Jewish mysticism, the divine sparks are in everything, including our own difficulties or our own darkness. By being able to be present and recognizing that God is even in our darkness or our pain, then we release the sparks. That's a metaphorical term, but we are able to suddenly open up to a greater sense of godly awareness and presence in ourselves, because we've stopped denying it and hiding from it and making it unconscious, but instead we're making it conscious. That can be one way of understanding the descent for the sake of the ascent. A second way is that when we make a choice, when we experience moments in our life, whether they're external or internal, that are painful or difficult, and that can even be in, it doesn't even have to be an inner experience. It can be something that is looking at the world around us. Things when we see behavior around us in our personal lives or in, global or communal life that is really upsetting or saddening or angering or whatever that is. It takes a certain kind of intention and energy to say, God is in this situation too. How do I see it? How do I respond to it? How do I act at it? What we're doing when we make that conscious descent into whatever the darkness that we are experiencing around us, is we're saying, I am not going to let my awareness or consciousness just rest with the fear and the sadness in and of itself. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to deny that fear or sadness or anger, but I'm not going to just let that be everything. Let that consume me. Instead, I'm going to open to the sense that there is a divine presence that is part of this, that's here. And how do I see that? How do I respond to that? And already by asking that question, by looking down, we're already ascending. We're already letting our awareness not just be in the contracted place of the fear, the anger, the sadness, whatever that is, but instead we're even looking beyond that to say, how do I learn from this? How do I grow from this? How do I respond to this? And already by asking that question, we're not reactive anymore. We're immediately being more intentional. And so that is another way of the descent for the sake of the ascent, is just by having that intention, we're already ascending. So that's that concept and idea. And what is amazing to me, about how I'm going to share a teaching from Rabbi Zev Wolf of Zlitomir, or he's called the Or HaMa'ir. He was one of the lead teachers of the Maggid of Mezrich. He was a great spiritual master, direct descendant of the Baal Shem Tov, and he had a circle of students, and kind of the Or HaMa'ir was one of the key head teachers, students. And he remember that the portion that we're in is the people ask Moses for permission to send spies ahead into the promised land, into the land, to find out what it's like before they enter. And Moses comes in. Moses says, okay, and he lets a group of 12 Israelites, including Caleb and Joshua, go into the land to do some reconnaissance and see how it is. And what happens is they come back, and I'll quote from Numbers. It says, they spoke to him saying, to Moses, the spies came back and they say, we came into the land where you sent us. It indeed flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. And they show them this huge, amazing, like giant fruit, giant grapes, amazing. But the people dwelling in there are strong. Okay, and they go on to say how we don't think we can conquer them. But Caleb silenced the people for Moses, saying, we will indeed go up and inherit it, for we are able. All right. So on the surface, this is a story about confidence, about trust, about faith. The spies come back, and they come back and say, even though God is telling them, I'm going to be with you, I'm going to help you enter the land, they come back and they say, I don't know if we can, right? They doubt God. And Caleb and Joshua are the only ones that say, we can do it. What's amazing about the Or HaMa'ir's reading of this is they're not talking about a physical battle anymore. This whole Torah portion is talking about our own inner battles with ourselves. And what he's talking about is the descent for the sake of the ascent. What is going in the land? What is the danger of the battle? It is being too caught in the material reality of the universe, of the world, of the physical reality. We know that Judaism does not say, deny the physical world. Spirituality is only in these higher kind of levels of consciousness that have no connection with the physical. Judaism affirms physicality, but it's always tied with seeing the presence of God and being aware of the divine in whatever is in the physical. So when we go ahead and eat food, yes, we enjoy food 100%, but we say a bracha, we say a blessing to acknowledge that the divine energy is present in the food. Even in sexuality, there is intentions and thoughts about how even our own sexuality is not just about our own carnal pleasure, which it certainly is, but is about the union of coming together. It's a spiritual connection. And there are reminders in Kavanot that in our mystical tradition, even around that. So the idea is, of course, is to be able to see the divine and the aliveness and the energy that is in all the physical and not lose sight of, not be caught in our own desires and our own pursuit only of the physical. And the spiritual masters realize how hard that is, right? So going into the land in this way, in a sense, is like saying, going into that our own kind of engagement with the physical world. And when they come back, what are they saying? They're saying, we don't think that we can conquer our own desires. We don't think that we can be able to be aware of the spiritual and the physical. We're going to get too consumed. We're going to get too lost in that. And Caleb is the only one that's saying, no, you can do it. This is what we're here to do. This is what the whole purpose of the Jewish people is all about. This is the purpose of humanity, is in order to be, how do we bring God on earth? It's the awareness of God that is already present on earth. And yes, there are obstacles inside that we will need to wrestle with. It will be easy to get caught, but we can do it. And one of the beautiful teachings that the Or HaMe'ir brings in this is to say, and you probably heard this before, God only gives us what we can handle, right? It's an amazing thing to say, you know, no matter how challenging things will be, they only unfold to the capacity that we are able to handle it. Handling it doesn't mean handling it by ourselves. Handling it commonly means reaching out for help and being in community and calling on all our resources. And that might be even part of what our learning is, especially for those of us that have trouble asking for help. But we're only given what we can handle. And that's another way of saying that there is divine purpose in our lives, that things aren't random, that things are unfolding how it is. And whether you think that that is, you know, just a nice kind of overlay onto life, whether it's true or not, and is actually not so relevant, because the question is how does that perspective help us live our lives? How does it help us engage from the moment instead of shrinking away and saying, it's too much, I can't deal? So that's a lot. And we now will have the opportunity to kind of sit together and to digest a bit of that teaching in our own practice. So find a comfortable place to sit, comfortable position that you can sit for a good chunk of time without moving or adjusting too much. You're of course welcome to move and adjust, but if you're in a good physical position, part of the practice is being able to observe and notice sensation without having to react to it so much through a lot of movement. So find that, settle in, begin to bring your awareness to the contact of your bottom and the seat or the chair. Notice the distance between your bottom of your spine and the top of your head. Pay attention to the length of your legs as they come out of your hip and end in the bottom of your feet, noticing where your feet contact the ground, every inch of it. Be aware of your arms as they hang out of your shoulder sockets, and the way your head just rests gently up on your shoulders. And we're gonna start by singing a nigun, a melody, But I'd like us to sing that nigun while we keep that awareness of our body in space. As we sing, I encourage you to pay attention also to the vibration of your vocal cords and your body with the singing, with the melody. And so that you're just present with the whole experience. Just open to the space created by the melody. Notice the vibration of your own body, the rishimu, the impression that's left, the imprint that's left by the melody. And begin to notice the movement of breath as the air enters through your nostrils or your mouth. The body gently expands to make room for the inhale. And notice that place where the inhale switches over to an exhale. And the exhale reaches its maximum length and switches to an inhale. Aware of your entire body breathing, expanding on the inhale, contracting on the exhale. Noticing your belly as the air enters and fills the area of your belly, grounding you, firming up your connection to your seat. The choice to be here now. Rootedness, groundedness. At the same time that you're aware of your belly area and the acceptance of being here. Notice your heart area. And even imagine that the inhale and the exhale is breathing through your heart area, creating openness, an attitude of embrace of this moment. An openness to this moment that says, yes, I welcome with open arms everything about this moment, about who I am in this moment, about the conditions of this moment, about the entire world in this moment. And letting our awareness move to our third eye, forehead area, continuing to stay present with belly and with heart area. But begin to let your breath move in and out through your third eye. Breathing in focus and clarity. The ability to be here with breath, with body sensation, with sound, with thoughts. Letting that focus and that choice to be present. Notice the divine symphony, the way that every part of our experience makes up an instrument in the music of this moment. Breath, body sensation, sounds, thoughts. And then become aware of your very presence. The presence in you that is with everything inside and out of you. The one that watches. The one that is holy. Notice how this presence, this watcher, this witness is not actually separate from the body sensations and the breath, but is also imbued within it. That simultaneously this presence, this watcher that we can rest in is both transcends our individual phenomenon, is both separate and imbues it. So that at the same time, not only do we watch breath, but we are breath. Not only do we watch thoughts, but we are thoughts. Not only do we watch body sensation, but we are body sensation. We being the divine presence, the awareness, that is the core of who we are. In a practical sense, this practice is just about being with what is. But at the same time that we are with what is in the physical, we are also present to consciousness, to awareness. That is here in every part of our experience. I'm going to be quiet for a period of time. Can really continue to practice being with the divine, being with awareness in every part of your experience. If you find yourself getting lost in a particular sensation or thought, bring it back to the breath, to the awareness of belly, of acceptance and groundedness, of heart, of openness and love of the moment, of forehead, awareness, focus, and then finally, the intention to awaken to the divine reality in all of it.
I need this. Yeah.
Welcome back. Nice to see you, Sherry. You're muted, but that's okay. You're muted there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to be back. I feel like this meditation was written just for me. Because I've just been struggling. I was at the ER all day yesterday.
So sorry.
And yeah, and I'm just finding it hard to keep on keeping on, putting one foot in front of the other, and yet I do it. And I realize how my reaction was to do what you were talking about today. And so hearing it reaffirmed is very healthy for me.
Good.
But it is hard seeing God in all those things.
Mhm.
I would imagine that just after such, constant struggle with physical health, there's an exhaustion to it. And, I would imagine that there's a despair probably that comes in too.
Mhm.
And to be with that,
Yeah.
right? I think that's what the Rebbe was really trying to teach, in acknowledging that, when the people were saying we're not going to be able to conquer the land, I think that is giving voice to that dimension in us, that despair, that contracted consciousness, that part of ourselves that only believes we are so much. It's giving voice to that says, I don't think I can do this.
Mhm.
And Caleb is coming back and saying, you were born to do this. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very, as I say, it's very comforting. It's very affirming. And I will keep on keeping on.
Thank you, Sherry. Yeah. Thank you.
Sherry, do that for us. Keep on going.
Keep on going. Right.
Well, we do that for each other in our own ways. And I I, definitely continued, to draw inspiration from you, Sherry, and I think that's one of the things we can do for each other is
Other.
or that we, each one of us in our own lives makes those decisions towards greater awareness, makes the decision to choose life, over and over again. It gives each other the strength to do that as well.
Yeah, Yeah.
Like that's how we lift each other up, and we cannot do this alone. We just can't.
Mhm.
you are correct.
Any other thoughts, Sherry? Maury, go ahead, and then Norma.
I was going to comment to Sherry, if that's okay. Sherry, I do find you to be an inspiring person, and I've known you so many years and seen you go through so many things. But what is most supportive to you? What do you find, in addition to your inner journey, what do you find is most helpful to you?
Good question, Lori. I think making sure to be here if I was able with the session today is very is very healing and gives me energy to keep going. So that's an important awareness. And then being able to be well enough. I think it's not to wait to be well enough to do something, but to do it anyway, because I know that it's like I'm going to generate my own get up and go. And the problem becomes when I feel like the get up and go got up and went. Then,
That's a really, I think that's a really great insight. A lot of us have some image of how things need to be in ourselves or whatever to really fully choose life, to really fully go ahead and do it. And Sherry's basically saying, don't wait. I'm not going to wait for any image of how well I have to be, how whatever. I'm just going to choose life from wherever I'm at. And that's key. Norma.
I'm trying to do the same thing. Between the 2 accidents, and now I have to have a breast biopsy. So I'm just wondering how much I can handle.
Mhm.
So today's meditation was just hit home. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Just want to note and just offer a little blessing for the beautiful space that this group is creating for each other right now, to just be able to hold each one of us wherever we are in our journey. Just feeling the really beautiful presence that's here. So.
Mhm.
Any other sharings before we close?
Well, I just wanted to express to Norma that you also are always here. I mean, always is always as you can be. And it always feels so good to me to see you here.
Thank you, Maury.
Thank you. Well appreciated.
Kathy.
Devote so many of your talks and messages to us are so important. I just wish that we could share it with a larger community, if somehow, some way. And it's important for all of us to hang together. We're really a great support to each other. I would just say that Sherry and Norma, as you go through these struggles, I will hold in my heart for you what Kavod said this morning, that every step that you take forward in your struggle, God is with you. God's there.
Yeah, in all of you.
Mhm.
Thank you all.
Here it is. Here it is. Thank you, everybody. Well, this has been a very heart-filled morning for me. Thank you. I wish everybody a beautiful day, as this is today. Also, oh, this is a quite a moment of today, because today is the moment where the light has reached its apex. This is the summer solstice. So up until now, the days have been getting longer, 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 longer. And just like a breath that comes in, and now the breath is going out. It's going out. And from here on out, all the way until the winter time, the days are getting shorter, shorter, shorter. So with your face, Ellen, like to say, no, this is where, you know, we have the opportunity to take this light, to be aware of this light and say, this is going to take me all the way through to December, all the way through to Hanukkah. You know, I got all the energy, I got all the light that's, you know, bringing towards and being aware that it's like a breath, you know, that the seasons and the cycles are like the breath. They go in and they go out, and it's just, how do we ride it? You know, how are we going to ride it? So have a great week, everybody. Hope to see some of you on Shabbat.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Take care, Norma and Sherry.
Have